as well and post it to that YouTube channel. So we have a variety of videos on there as well. So Instructional Technology has an amazing collection of videos, and then we are adding to our collection as well. So hopefully you'll find between the two of us some things that will be useful to you. So today I'm just going to go quickly over our agenda, and then we're going to dig right in. At the top of our agenda, you'll see Google Help link, and that is directly to the Data Studio help page, which is really, it's really very helpful as you're getting started. But I also went ahead and linked the quick start guide so that you would have that quick start guide is basically the what do I do first, what do I do type of guide. We're going to do a quick overview of Data Studio, and I'm going to show you a few examples so you can kind of see what's possible with Data Studio. And then after that, we're going to talk about how to convert your Excel files with data to Google Sheets, how to create a Data Studio page, linking to it, and inserting a few of the analysis tools and other visualizations that are available on Data Studio. So if you have been working with your data in a spreadsheet, you'll know that a lot of the analysis that you have to do, you have to actually insert formulas to make that, to visualize your data. Otherwise, you're just looking at a spreadsheet full of, numbers and, names, and just looking at the overall spreadsheet can be very overwhelming, trying to figure out and make decisions based on that data. And so what Data Studio does is it helps you visualize that data a lot easier. And Selena, just FYI, I can't see anybody. I'm not signed in, on my other computer. So if any massive questions come up, or if you start seeing lots of looks of like, oh my gosh, totally lost me, please stop.
If I see someone panicking, I'll raise a red.
That'll be perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that because I can't see anything except my screen. So I'm hoping that I'm not losing everyone. All right. So to get to Data Studio, simply in your Omnibar up at the top, you're just going to type in datastudio.google.com. And it should pull Data Studio up. Now, every one of us has a Data Studio. We can access it through our Google for Education account. It may ask you initially to sign in with your Mesquite ISD account, but it should just pop right up. I've been in it for a while, so it's been a little bit since I did it for the very first time. Your screen may look a little bit different from mine because I actually have several examples in here. And so you may just see this blank report and maybe a few of these tutorials in the template gallery. Now, I will say that Data Studio, I think, is not utilized by educators because they don't know about it. Google has really marketed this towards business people so that they can do a lot of marketing analysis. But the tools really work very well for education also. So I'm going to pull up one example. Let's see if I can find, oh, here we go. So here's one that is Enrollment Metrics. So this is something that you might pull from Skyward that maybe shows the student names, their information, their ethnicity, their addresses, all of that kind of data. Now, this page is not something I created, but what I want you to see is how you can use blocks of color and you can filter based on the information you want to look at. So just to kind of explain this page that we're looking at, this is a very elaborate template, which you can then share, and I'll share links to, I have these links to these templates at the bottom of the agenda. So you can open them up and then make a copy and actually connect your own data to them if you want. But you'll see here's some kind of overall statistics: days enrolled, number of students, attendance, sped count, sped percentage, and then there's some other tables. Here's your grade levels, school enrollment, here's your ethnicity, gender, male, female. And then below you have this table, right, that has their name, their homeroom, grade level, school, and some of the other information. In between are these green boxes with little drop-down arrows. These are filter boxes. So I could go in and filter by school and say, okay, I only want to look at the middle school. When I do that, I then, oh, nope, let me go back. I clicked on too many buttons. When I do that, you'll see there was kind of a little working signal up at the top there. And now you'll see my grade level table has changed. I only have 6, 7, 8. My school enrollment is for this one school. Okay. So this is showing for the district. Down here is showing for my school. And so you'll notice how these scorecards right here change as I filter. If I want to filter further and say I'm only looking for 7th grade, that information changes again. So Data Studio is a fantastic way to be able to get that raw data, but be able to look at it and filter it and visualize it in a way that makes it easier to understand. So that's just one example. Now to get back to my Data Studio page, I click over on that little icon and I'm back here to my main section. Okay. So let's see, that was one example. I'm going to show you just maybe one more example. Here's social media use by freshmen. You'll see this one looks a little bit different. They have multiple pages, and this is they simply surveyed their freshman class. You'll see the number of students, and then here you have a filter. What was the age they started using social media? And a lot of the data that we're going to look at will change when you only look at one of those ages. So here you're looking at their preferred social media. And if I click on just one area, so this is Snapchat, you'll then see the other charts change based on which one I choose. So again, everything is connected because you're going to connect it all to the same data, but you can really go in and dig down to be able to analyze the information that you have. And then you'll see that Data Studio allows you you can add images, you can add text, you can add multiple pages. So if we wanted to look at cyberbullying, we can then go in and look here, and you can add text boxes. So here are the questions that they were asked, and here are the answers. So just another way of visualizing that data. So those are just a couple of examples to give you an idea of what you can do. And obviously you can do so much more than just that. So now I'm going to actually click on blank report to show you what the dashboard looks like. So when I create a new report, the very first thing that happens is it wants me to connect to some data, right? And I want to connect to Google Sheets because that's really, there are lots of other options, but what I like about choosing Google Sheets is that as my sheet data updates, all of the graphs and everything, the tables, everything else that I have included on my Data Studio page, that all updates as well. So it will change as the information on my Google Sheet changes. So this is perfect if you're using Google Forms to collect information from students and they maybe add to that throughout the year, or as new students arrive, they fill out that Google form. And then as that information is added, your data visualization will change on your Data Studio page. So I really recommend at least to start with Google Sheets. So let's look at, not everything comes to us directly as a Google Sheet. If I'm downloading or exporting information from Skyward, maybe student grades, or from Eduphoria with test results, then that information is going to come to me in an Excel file, and it's going to be saved to my desktop. So to get it from Excel to a Google Sheet, what I want to do is be in my drive to start, in the folder where I want my data to be housed. So this is always important, and I like to point this out in most of the sessions that I do. Whenever you're in Drive and you're either uploading files or creating files, I highly recommend that you make sure you're in the sorry, that was weird. That you're in the folder where you want that information to be housed, so that it's organized so you can go back and find it later. Otherwise, you'll end up with just a zillion documents in your main drive. So once I'm in the folder where I want my data, click New, and then File Upload. Now, if you haven't done this yet, you want to make sure that your settings, you click on Settings for Drive, and that you have it set so that this box is checked. Convert uploaded files to Google Docs editor format. When you check that box, it will automatically change Excel files to Google Sheets. It will change Word files immediately into Google Docs. It will change PowerPoint immediately into slides. And it just makes it so much easier for you to work with in your Google Drive. Also, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, when they are set in that format, they do not take up any storage space. Whereas uploading it, keeping it as Excel or Word does take up storage space. So that's something to consider as well. So my setting is there so that it will automatically convert it. So I'm going to choose New. File Upload. And now I need to go into, I hope you guys can all see, that's kind of weird the way that did that. Now I'm in my downloads, I'm on my Mac, and here I have this test data that I have from Excel. I click Open, and you'll see it's uploading, and it may take it a minute. But once it is loaded, notice that you're not seeing that X, which is the Excel icon. You're seeing the kind of sheets with a plus sign, which is the Google Sheets. And then when I open it up, there's my information. Okay, so that's how you transfer or make your convert your Excel files over to Google Sheets. All right, so I'm going to go back to my Untitled report for Data Studio, and I'm going to click on Google Sheets. And now what it's going to do is it's going to actually look in my drive and look for different sheets that I've opened recently. So you'll see it's pulling up all the sheets that I've actually opened up. If you don't see the spreadsheet that you want to use here in this list, you can do a search, or you can look for it based on owned by me, shared, starred, or if you just click here, it'll open up your drive and you can go search for the one that you want. Okay, so for this example, I'm going to use this example student data with scores. So when I click on it, now it's asking me which worksheet I want to work with. So if you're familiar at all with Google Sheets, you'll know that you can have multiple sheets or tabs within your overall worksheet. And so it wants to know which one you want to use. So I might have 3 or 4 here, but for this one, I only have the one sheet. And then you have your options. Use the first row and include hidden and filtered cells. I want everything to be included, so I'm going to keep all of those checked. And then click Add. And then I'm going to stop. And I'd like to give you just a few minutes, just a couple of minutes, to go into your data studio. So hopefully you've got your screen split, and create an untitled report and attach some sort of spreadsheet to it. It really is best if the data at least has maybe some names, maybe a couple of grades or scores. But if it doesn't, that's okay too. I mean, even if it just has first name, last name, and maybe an address or some other information, we can still work with that. So just take a couple of minutes and create a report. And I want to be able to show you some of the how to insert your different tools and to be able to insert images and text. So we really are just going to take a couple minutes for this. And I'm going to move over to the faces to see if anybody needs help. So just let me know if you need help on this.
It might make you go through kind of the, I agree, I accept terms kind of thing, if it's the first time you're doing it.
Thank you, Selena. Yeah, like I said, it's been a little while since I've done this for the first time. Okay, did I give enough time? Do I need to give a couple more minutes? Thumbs up if you feel like you're ready to. No, okay, you need to wait on a couple of people. Got some thumbs up.
I found a sheet that I want to use, but I can't find it through the search. So how can I get it?
Click on that. And I'm out of that section. So click on, it says open in Google Drive.
Okay.
And it should take you to your drive, and then you can search and find it that way.
Thanks. Sorry.
No problem. All right. Okay, so I'm going to move forward. You'll see, as soon as you connect your data to that report, you'll see a chart. Now, as always, the first thing we want to do whenever we create something in Google is to name it. So that we don't end up with a bunch of untitled reports. So for me, I'm just going to name this Data Studio Test Page, so that I know that this is just something that I'm testing out. It always creates a table first thing. And you can choose to keep the table, or you can decide that you want to use a different kind of visualization tool. But we're going to start with a table so I can show you the dimensions. And I'm not going into a lot of details on this. I'm going to give you just enough so you can kind of get yourself going. Because there's so much I haven't explored. I actually just learned about this tool in February and have been using it like a crazy lady ever since. So just know that I'm giving you the bare minimum basics on this. All right, so on this table, you'll notice these little dots that are surrounding it. This works like anything else in Google Drawings, Google Docs, is you can click and drag and move it wherever you want. You can also make it bigger. So I can click on the bottom right and drag it down, and it will resize my table for me. Now, I have 100 students in the test data that I'm using. So you'll notice at the bottom, it'll tell you how many. So this says 100 of 100, but I'm only seeing 16 kids. It's because my table is not long enough, okay? But I'm going to show you a way around that so that you can actually look at everybody when you're ready to view your data. Okay, so we're going to start on the right-hand side where it says data and style. You'll notice at the top it says chart. The type of chart we're working in is a table, okay? From here, you start with your data source. And so it's telling me what my data source is. If you ever need to change that data source or update it because maybe you added a new tab or you added new columns, that's really important. You click on the edit button, and then you just go back to edit your connection and you select the information that you want, and then you hit reconnect. So here, if I was wanting to connect it to a new tab, maybe for the next year, I don't want to recreate my page, but I want the next year's data, I can go back and reconnect to a new tab, okay? So that's, yes.
You would only need to do that if there's a new tab or a new column, but anything in your current column, if there's updates and changes, those live feed. Right.
That is correct, Selena. That's great to point that out. Yes, exactly. As long as it's in the current columns that you have connected already, once that information is updated, yes, it will live update on your Data Studio page. Okay, next, notice that here I have, it's asking me for dimensions. I can add a date range, but I don't have any dated data. So a date range might be, I'm looking at information between April and July. And so I have a date range dimension. So unless you have that, this stays blank. Here are your dimensions to your table. So right now you'll see all I have is first name. I can add additional. So I can add last name. Let's say I want to see the race and ethnicity, and then I want their math score, their reading score, and their writing score. Let's say I want to filter by race and ethnicity, but I don't necessarily want that showing in my table. I do not have to include it. To take a dimension out, simply click and drag it to the right. And I was remiss. To add a dimension, click on the dimension over in your available fields and drag it to the left to add a new dimension. Okay. So if I wanted to add information about lunch, I can put that in. Okay. And then click X to get rid of it. So here are your available fields, and then over here we can get rid of those. Now, right now, if we scroll down, you'll see metric. Right now it's showing a record count. Let's say I want their writing score to be the metric. Notice I can have multiple metrics. So for example, for our summer reading, we're using Data Studio for our leaderboard, and my metric is the number of points that students have earned. So this, instead of having a writing score, maybe if I have a totals column, that might be my metric. Okay, so you can add multiple metrics. You don't just have to have the one. With your metrics, you have different options. So notice next to writing score, it says sum. I can click on that pencil, and here I can rename it. It doesn't have to be writing score, but I can just call it, scores if I want. And then I can average it. I can count distinct, see the minimum, maximum, medium, standard deviation, variance. So they're all different types of aggregation that I can do, that I can choose. Right now I have it as sum. And so that would be if I had multiple columns of writing scores and they, let's see, well, what's a good way to put it? let's say that I have different test data that comes in over time, and I want all that test data to show up as my metric and to automatically be averaged. That's what I would use this for right here. Okay. So we have that metric that you can add in. And then here is where I can change it to make sure I can see all my students. So see where it says rows per page? I just click on the down arrow and say, okay, I only want to see 10 students. Or maybe I only want to see 20 students at a time out of my 100. Okay, actually, yeah, that works. So then on my table, I'm going to scroll, I'm going to make it large enough so that I now have 20 students showing up. Whoops. Okay. So now that's where you can make sure that you can see everyone when you view it. I can also include a summary row, and that summary row is going to show me the grand total of everybody, of everything. I can add different sorting features. So I can have a sort where I want to sort the scores descending. So the highest scores are at the top and the lowest scores are at the bottom, or the other way around. My lowest scores are at the top and my highest scores are at the bottom. Okay, so that's how I can sort. Right now, I have two sorts. I have this record count and the secondary. If I don't want the record count sort, I can simply take my writing score and override it. Come on. Well, or maybe I can't. Sorry about that. I thought that that most of them, they'll allow you to change out that sort. Probably if I did not have the reading count as one of my metrics, then I could, whichever metric is in here is going to start as my original sort. And then I add in my secondary. Well, come on. Oh, there we go. Okay, writing score. Oh. Okay. So, and then let's see if there's something else. And then I can add filters, but it's better if you add filter buttons. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. So that is just all the different things that you can do with your data. And you just have to keep playing around with it and adding your fields in as your dimensions. Notice again on these where it says first name, last name, lunch. I can click on that pencil. And here I can change it. So if I just want it to say name, I can change that, that label. And I can choose what kind it is. Is it text? Is it a number, date and time? Is it a URL? And then it will, like if it's a URL, it'll actually link. It'll be a link to that URL. So you can do editing of each of those dimensions for your table. Notice it doesn't change it from your fields. It just changes what you see here on the table. Okay, so that's messing with the data. And then notice there's another tab over here that says style. So if I click on style, I can now change the way my table looks. So I can add conditional formatting to my different columns. Here, if I'm not happy with the way my columns are showing, I just click and drag in between each to change what those look like. Okay. And then on the right, I can show my header. If let's say I have a really long, like these math scores and reading scores, they have really long names. If I click wrap text, notice how now I can see the whole label for that column. I can also change my table colors. So if I want the background of my table to be pink, there you go. I can also change the cell colors. Oh, that's the border lines in between the cells. Not really a fan of that. But then I can also change the alternate. This one's the odd, and then the next one is the even rows, so that sometimes that visually helps people to be able to see the data a little bit easier. I can also change the font color. So that black on the pink is hard to read. Oh, no. Let's see. I want, oh, here we go. This is the header font up here. That's black, and maybe I want it to be white. Maybe that would be easier, or light pink. Ooh, no. We'll make it. I know, I'm so bad. I was like, what color was gonna look best? So your header is here, then your table colors, and then your labels, which these are the labels here is what that's talking about, okay? And I can change the font also. So if I'm not happy with Roboto, I can choose a different font that I think will look better for my data. All right. And yes.
I have a quick question.
Uh-huh.
So when you were kind of, and probably it would be on the data side, but maybe not. When you're doing it, is there an option to either consolidate or remove duplicates, or is that something you would need to manipulate in your sheet before you pulled it over?
You would want to manipulate that in your sheet before you pull it over. Yeah. And there are features in Sheets that allow you to get rid of duplicates, so that, and it's a click of a button to get rid of your duplicates. And some of the other things that you might want to do as well. You can do that.
Like sorting and
yeah, but you have to do it in Sheets before it comes over here. That's a really great question.
Will the sort features update here, or like if I sort after I've already created the Data Studio table, will it change what it looks like here?
So no, here we sort it here. So remember when we were over in data and I did the sort option here, that's how it will sort it.
Okay.
So you can sort it in two ways. Based on the metrics is how that will sort.
Okay.
We're going to also, I'm going to show you how you can filter as well by different columns. Okay. Does that help? Answer that question? Okay. One last thing I wanted to show you in style is sometimes you have missing data. So there are times where maybe student hasn't turned in an assignment. Right when you see missing data, you have some different options. If you click on that arrow, you can show null, you can show 0, no data, or just blank. And so you have to choose how do you want that to look on your table, so that if you didn't have data there, what would show. And then here are your alignments. So you'll see for each column, you can center those different pieces or align them left or right. And then for your metrics, you can show, do you want to show that as a number, as a heat map, or as a bar? So there's my record count showing as a bar instead of a number. Here it is showing as a heat map. Okay, so that's just another option that you have to visualize your data. Okay, and then you also can change out your background and your border, which is going to be this. So if I want a black outline border, it's going to show that black outline around my table. Okay, so you have lots of different ways that you can change up the way your table looks. You're not stuck with that plain gray table that you see. And then you have a chart header that you can show on hover, or you can just have it always show. So there's my chart header if I wanted one, but I don't have to have that. Okay, so just some different options in that. So now that we've taken kind of a basic look at, a data tool that's been added, let's look at the other options that you have here. So in your main menu section, click Insert. And then you can see, you can add a time series. So how is the data changing over time? A bar chart, a combo, so it shows both the bars and that time series over it. Pie chart, we've seen the table. Here's one I want to add, a scorecard. So when I add a scorecard, remember that I made one of my metrics to be the this writing score over here. In my scorecard, notice that it's changed my metric. It automatically wants to do this record count. It loves that. But I can click and drag and change it with my writing score. And right now, I'm having it as a sum. But let's say I want it as an average instead. So now I can see the average of the writing score of my students is 66.11. Okay? And then again, same thing. I can go over here to style and make it look as pretty as I want it to look. I can give it a nice, pretty background color and an outline and all of those other things. Change the font so that it's pretty. Right? All right. The other thing I want to show you, you'll see here's the scatter chart, some other charts that you can use. You can embed anything. Videos. So if you have a video that goes along, maybe it's you know, some sort of video that's describing or explaining, you know, good instructional strategies or tips for students. You can embed that on your Data Studio page. Any kind of text. So I can go in here and draw a text box and type in, you know, student writing scores. And again, I have all these different features to change the way that looks. Oops. Why did you not pick that? So I want to make it big. And, oh, my computer's not happy with me right now. I want to change the font. So you have all those different options. Same with the back and make it a back. I can give it a nice background. Why did it did not want to change my font there? There we go. So I have a title for it.
On the scorecard, can you add more than one metric onto a scorecard, or do you need to do two different ones?
You would do two different ones. So if you wanted to do one for writing, one for math, one for reading, you would need each of those to be a metric.
Okay.
Okay. That's a very good question.
That came from
yes, exactly. And anything that has a number added to it it doesn't have to be over here in the two metrics. Any one of these items that has a number with it can be added as a scorecard. Okay. So let's see. Come on, computer, be happy with me. So if I click insert scorecard, and then I can choose, it's going to let me, over here I can choose math score. And then I want to average my math score. Because what it's doing is it's not looking at the table to see the information. It's looking at that column. And it's saying, oh, okay, in this column, here are all these numbers, and you want me to average those numbers for you. Right? And again, notice I can rearrange my page and make it look however I want. All right, and then the last thing I want to show you that's really important is this filter control. Again, here are the other things. You can insert an image, a line, shapes, date ranges, but this filter control is another piece that really helps you to analyze your data. So let's say that I want to filter by last name. Right now it's showing first name. I'm going to click and drag last name and replace it. So I have a filter by last name. And then I want to insert another filter control. And this one is going to be for lunch. So I want to filter by lunch type. Okay. And I'm just going to stick with those two. Again, with our style, I can go in and change these so that it has a different look to it. Let's see, there it is, my background. So there's one filter, and then let me get the other one so that we can see those easily. Okay. So now I have my filters. While I'm in edit mode, none of this works. I can't do anything with it. I'm just setting it up. Then if I click view, which is this button up here at the top right, view, now if I click on my filter arrow, I can say, okay, well, I want to filter by jarting. And now I'm only seeing that one student, right? Or if I want to see everybody, but I want to only look at my free reduced lunches, those kiddos who get free reduced lunch. I want to look at their scores. Now I'm only seeing the scores for students on free reduced lunch. So that filter really helps me be able to dig into the different elements that are part of the data here. I can even, here I'm going to click edit. I can even filter, let's see, let me click insert, filter control by something not in my table. So for example, if I want to filter by race and ethnicity, I can do that, or by parent level of education. I can add that as a filter. And then when I click view, when I click, so free and reduced lunch, I can then say, okay, I want, master's degree students who also are on free reduced lunch. And there are my kiddos. So notice that parent level of education is not anywhere in my table, but it doesn't matter because it's in my worksheet. It's in my my Google sheet. I can filter that data. I can filter based on that that element. Okay. So that's the other thing that I really love is, I may not want everybody to see the parent level of education or the ethnicity or their gender, but I can still filter based on that and then see the student name and their scores based on that filter from other data that's in my spreadsheet. So to me, that's the real power besides being able to visualize it, because I can also, and one other thing to know, see, I just have a very short page. And let's say I wanted to add a pie chart or a bar graph to this. If I click on, I think it's file. No, I have to remind myself. One of these. Somewhere there is a place where I can go in. I was correct the first time. Page, and then click on current page settings. And when I click on style, here is my width and my height. So I can actually make this I can give myself a lot more room on my page. And as soon as I do that, notice I now have more space on my page. So just again, because I'd forgotten myself, click page and then current page settings. And then from there, choose style and choose your height and your width. So you can make it as big as you want it, right? And then they also have, letter screen sizes. So they have other options for you. But if I wanted to insert maybe a pie chart, I can come in here, click on that to add my pie chart. And so right now my pie chart is based on name, but let's say I really want my pie chart based on race and ethnicity. Or I want it based on gender, or was that? And now record count is helping me because it's telling me how many are female, how many are male. Or it's telling me how many are each of the different genders that I have. Okay. And again, the results that you're going to see is based on the entry, the information that is in your spreadsheet. So for this test spreadsheet, the groups are just A, B, C, D, and E. And then this shows you your percentage. Now you can also go in here and change how you want your pie chart pieces to look. So right now they're percentages, but I can go in and choose, I can choose a different number of slices, and I can go in and choose that I want the labels to not be percentage. I want them to be an actual value. So how many are in each of those versus what is the percentage. So I have those options as well. You can see there are really a lot of different things that you can do, different options that you can choose. So you really have to go in and explore all of the different options that are available for each of the different charts and graphs to make sure that you're getting the data that you want to see. Okay. All right. And then lastly is I want to just share some best practices for sharing. And that is, so you can share this document with people. You have a couple of different options. If you get a shareable link, then anybody with the link will be able to view it. And this again is very similar to your to Google Docs. If either anyone in the organization, or you can go down and choose anyone with the link. Now we're working with data, so you're not going to want anyone with the link. You want it to be either, if it's data that is okay for people in Mesquite ISD to look at, like for example, our reading program, it's okay for everybody in Mesquite and the community to look at how many minutes kids are reading. That's all right. But test scores, that's not all right. So you can also share specifically with individual people who you want to have those rights, and then give them the ability. Can they edit? Do you want them to be able to go in here and add graphs, add charts? So maybe other teachers on your team who are working with you, that you want them to be able to add to your chart, or do you just want them to be able to look at it? All they can do is view it. If you click view only, then they will see view rights, and they'll be able to go in and use the filters to look at the information that you've set up. So you set up the page, and then they can go in and basically look at the information they need using those filters. Okay. And one thing I think I forgot to point out was that if you'll notice, look at the writing score and the math score when I filter. So when I filter based on parent level of education, look at what happened to that. I mean, it didn't change by a whole lot, but the writing score changes based on how I filtered. So these scorecards also interactively change based on how you filter how you filter the students. Okay, so that's also helpful. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. You'll see here that you have those same little icons, as you can use your file menu, or you can use the different icons here in the menu bar to be able to add different elements to your table. I want to show you one last thing, and then I'll open it up for questions. And that is, okay. So here is our leaderboard for the summer. And so I want to kind of show you how a page could look. So notice I used one full image, a single color as the background. And I tried to match the background for this banner. I added an image. Here's the scorecard, nice and big for people to be able to see. You have your different filter buttons. And then one thing that I did was I actually just added a box. This is just an image. And then I went in and added a text box with links. So these are links to other pages that people might want to go look at. And so I'm able to make this look like a web page. If I wanted, I could have embedded a video over here. So I try to think about the Data Studio page like that, like I'm creating a website, but for my data. And it is what you see is what you get for the most part interface. So I'm able to quickly and easily add in images and other pieces to my page. But when people look at it, they they only see the information that I've allowed in the table. So actually, with this spreadsheet, we're getting phone numbers, email addresses, just a wide variety of data from the students, but I don't want everybody to see that. I only want them to see their first initial and last name, the campus, their teacher, and then how many minutes they've read. And again, this totals it. So even though I actually entered 6 different times, 30 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 40 minutes, somewhere else, it still just shows me that total over here. And you can see this especially when we look at campuses. Lots of students are at Black Elementary, but it's just showing the minutes as a total for that whole campus here.
Emma?
Okay? Yes.
We have about 2.5 minutes before the next session starts.
Right, all done. Any questions?
Remember that on that agenda, she's given you some quick start guides, and we did record the session, so you can have that. It would probably take me a couple times to go back and watch it as I was playing with it, so you might feel that way too.
Yes, and I had to do the same thing, and I still do. I am by no means an expert. I just love it so much. I want to share it for others to be able to see how they can use it. But you'll notice that those links, that there's some sample reports for item type analysis, grade distribution, accountability breakdowns. You may get some great ideas for those for your data, but really just play around with it. That is your best bet. And I am going to be doing a full, like a 6-hour class. So it'll be 3 hours of a session, and then to really dig into it. And then it'll be 3 hours of you creating your own Data Studio page this summer. So if you really want just some time to kind of guided dig in, that might be something that you want to take a look at in the Professional Learning Catalog.
Thank you, Emma.
You are so welcome. All right. Well,